Island Origins live. I know the picture is a little bit grainy this evening. We'll try and work on it for future. However, I want to welcome you all to another week. We have some great hot topics we are going to jump right into, starting off with number one, how the international students, we want to talk this week about how coronavirus is affecting our community specifically. So we're not going to just talk to you about washing your hands and doing the basics. We literally want to talk about how it's affecting the Jamaican community, both in the diaspora and in Jamaica. So we are going to start off talking to DrKarren Dunkley in the Northeast about our hot topic number one, which is how are our international students being affected directly by COVID-19? Our second topic for the evening is going to be the myths surrounding coronavirus. So we have another doctor who's going to come on with us, Dr. Cheryl Holder. She will be coming on in a little while from now. And she's going to be, talking about some of the things like, is white rum really the solution for this coronavirus? I'm sure you've been seeing all of the funny memes that have been passed around the internet. We'll talk to a doctor about whether those are actually true or not. And of course, we will have our Consul General coming on with us to talk about our hot topic number three. How is the Jamaican government actually keeping our families safe in Jamaica while we are all dealing with coronavirus up here in the US? So again, we're going back to hot topic number one, and DrKarren Dunkley in the Northeast is standing by. Now, she is our diaspora representative for the US Northeast, and a question came up, what if you were a Caribbean student, a Jamaican student here in the US, your parents have saved their money, they have, made enough that you can comfortably go here, or maybe not even comfortably, they've scraped and scrounged and found the money to have you up here, but there's no family nearby. You're at a school, you're in the dorm, you're the only person in your family nearby. Maybe you don't have anybody with you in the state or in the same county, and here comes coronavirus, and at the end of spring break you're told don't come back to school, or you're already on campus and you're told don't come back to school because we cannot facilitate you, we're on quarantine, etc., etc. What do you do in that situation? Well, we have someone who is here to enlighten us about that. And DrKarren Dunkley, I am going to invite you into the conversation. Dr. Dunkley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kimberly.
All right, thank you for coming on. All right, so let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about the students. What are the students that are in the Northeast right now facing? It's cold and they're dealing with this coronavirus that we've never seen or dealt with before.
Great question, and thanks again so much for having us. So what we have encountered is, prior to the state of emergency, many colleges, certainly in the Northeast, had asked students who live on campus or in college facilities to leave so that they could sanitize or clean. And typically this was for a period of 2 weeks. Once the state of emergency was declared by the president, we found that colleges and universities now opted to just end in-person classes and pivot to online or digital classes, which certainly impacted many, many students who would typically stay through the end of the semester, or we found students who were very close to graduation, or, Khalib, some very nuanced situations, students who have to complete their clinicals so that they can get their certifications.
Okay. So you have a number of students dealing with a number of different issues, and you talked to me about, five different kind of points that you have been addressing there, including temporary housing. Can you talk about that a little bit? And by the way, you're cutting in and out a little bit. I'm not sure if it's your internet connection, but we're hearing you in bits and pieces. Hopefully we can get that sorted out.
Oh, you're hearing
All right.
in bits
So,
and pieces.
ca-
Is that better? Is that better,
um,
Khalid?
we're seeing you a little bit better, but hopefully we can hear you better as well. I'm not sure what options you have
Are
for
you able
internet
to hear
connection.
me? Are you able to hear better now?
Oh boy. No, you're still cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, yeah, the internet connection should be fine, but we're to
Go ahead. Remember, you're still live.
yeah,
So yes, please
yes,
please do
we'll
go
do the
ahead.
best that we can. So, in terms of the housing, certainly what we have offered, we do have a national certified social worker in the Northeast think tank. Her name is Lorraine Smith, along with Claudette Powell, a registered nurse, and we have state chairs. There are 14 states that comprise the Northeast. So, along with our faith based partners and our global community, we have opened up temporary housing for students who were displaced, i.e., if they had to move for the 2 weeks and now that campus has ended in person, that they need somewhere to stay before they're able to transition to Jamaica. We have also have extended housing for students who, for example, were completing their clinicals and certainly they have to be here. So even though they're not attending classes in person, they still need to go to different sites and spaces and ensure that they complete the different requirements for their program. What we have found in terms of temporary housing is that some students, we encourage them as soon as their college declared that they no longer needed to attend in person, we encouraged them to go home, and the majority of students, many young adults, did listen. And in addition to temporary housing, we were able to provide them different needs such as storage. Some college students, they needed some assistance with supplies, so sanitation supplies as well as food, traveling assistance. Some had relatives. So, for example, if they were in Texas or Alabama, they may have an aunt or an uncle who lives in New York, and so they needed some traveling assistance so that they could get to their families. And counseling services, we found that several of the young individuals, the adults who called us, really were very anxious, Khalib, as you can imagine, that you are here certainly typically by yourself, perhaps with except the community that you have enjoyed, that you connected with at school, and now we have this crisis. So Lorraine Smith, our nationally certified social worker, along with Ms. Claudette Powell and myself, we have provided some counseling just to let them know that we understand what they are feeling and experiencing, and here are some coping strategies, and here's also some tangible assistance.
Okay. You are cutting in and out, but it sounds like you have a strong team there that is helping you. You mentioned Claudette Powell and some other people who are relocating the students while they are in transition. If they are going to have to go back home or if they just need some temporary places to stay. So that sounds good. And then you talked about supplies and storage, which kind of you probably kind of touched on there a while ago as well. You talk about counseling. What kind of counseling are these students going to be in need of right now?
So right now, and I want to leave this number, Khalib, with your listening audience, is 609-373-9800, 609-373-9800. So we found that students who called, because we're the first line, we're answering our phone 24 hours and responding to email within 24 hours, really just anxious around not certainly wanting to be alone at this time, just the general uncertainty of not having somewhere secure and stable to go where they can just pack their items and move to until they are ready to go home to Jamaica. So, just in terms of the general anxiety around the COVID 19 and what it means for them individually, and then also in terms of being able to find the funds to travel home, because prior to the state of emergency, what has happened is that students they shared that they usually would work certainly, and that they would take the money that they work and save to purchase their tickets back home. So all of these issues conflated just really becomes very overwhelming, and then not being able to certainly interact. There was one young lady, just her phone, no credit on her phone, and so a very good and kind Samaritan was able to add credit. So just things that we take for granted, if we recall as students that we would not necessarily have as much access to a lot of resources. And just to let them know that the Jamaican village is here, that we certainly care about them, that they're not alone, and that the entire community, Khalib, has really pulled together. We have received calls from so many individuals willing to help, and certainly our legal counsel, Ms. Sandra Smith, we're making sure that everything we do is within the legal confines of our law stateside.
Okay. Yeah, we're still we're still having some trouble there, but I'm hoping that our viewers are getting most of the information that you're seeing there. So we do hear that there's a village that is supporting all of the students that are in crisis up there. And you talked about travel assistance as well. Um, you've touched on quite a bit in what we could hear from you. When people want to get some more information, you mentioned a number just now, 609 We have put that on the screen there.
Great.
But talk about how people reach out to you if they have questions and concerns, how they can get more information on the things that you do there in your region in the
Thank you
Northeast.
so much. So certainly, for those who would like to participate, they can also call the 609-373-9800 number, because what we do, we have an intake form. We really have to vet individuals who offer housing, and we do have our state chairs in our faith community and our social organizations that help with this vetting in terms of the intake, because we want to ensure that wherever we place our students, that is certainly a safe and a healthy environment for them. So anyone who's interested in offering this type of support can certainly call that number. Khalib, they can also email at Dunkley for the number 4THE, the diaspora at gmail.com. Dunkley for the diaspora at gmail.com.
Awesome. And it sounds like, in fact, everyone is hearing you. It's just me that's not hearing you clearly.
Oh,
So thank goodness for that.
well,
So
that I'm glad to see that.
right. So we should have a clear recording of this at the end. To those asking if you can rub vitamin C or vitamin D on yourselves as protection, we're going to touch on that in our second section of the show, which is Corona Myths Dispelled. So stand by. We're gonna get to you with those kinds of questions. In the Northeast, obviously, we have several Jamaicans who are we have different communities have different personalities. I think when you meet Jamaicans
Yes.
from New York and you meet Jamaicans from Philadelphia or Washington, and then you come down to South Florida, it's a different vibe and a different energy. The Jamaicans that you are dealing with up there now in the cold climate, because we have nice warm sunshine here where we are in South Florida, sorry. But the Jamaicans that you're dealing with up there, when you talk to me about having counseling available for all of the diaspora, not just the students,
Correct.
what are the issues that you are seeing our diaspora members face up there in the Northeast
Thank you so much. So
that
one of
might be
the
unique?
things, yeah, I wonder if it's unique, perhaps. There are two primary issues, Khalib. One issue is there is a general mistrust, and we understand for historic reasons that there's a general mistrust with government and with the information that comes to us from the media. And so some of the phone calls, just not from non-students, like we had several of those phone calls today, just getting a sense of, can they really trust what they're hearing? Is this really a pandemic, or is it certainly a movement afoot maybe to drive fear or just is it bio warfare, is it germ warfare? So we have had to answer, and certainly we align our message to the CDCs and the World Health Organization, and just say to people like our grandmothers saying, we have been stating here in the diaspora that prevention is better than the cure. So regardless of what we may think, whether we want to take it seriously, we're encouraging everyone to take it seriously, because we're hearing people just anxious, is this a plan, to really to see how quickly certainly the world can shut down. And so we have heard that a lot. On a more practical side, Khalib, we have had a lot of questions around immigration. So as you may or may not know, is that certainly here in the Northeast, many of the court systems have delayed their hearings, primarily around immigration in this instance. So we have an immigration lawyer. Her name is Sandra Smith. She's actually a New York State chair, and we have received several questions. Oh, is that you, Khalid? So Khalif, so that is a big concern, and I just want to leave another phone number for the viewers to reach out to Sandra Smith if they need. She's offering, her law firm is the law offices of Smith, Sykes and Associates. The law offices of Smith, Sykes and Associates. They can call to see how they are impacted from an immigration perspective. 718-483-8881, 718-483-8881. So these have been the primary concerns. The very global, is this real? Should we really listen? And then the very practical, how does this impact me from an immigration status? What can I do next?
Okay. All right. And yeah, before we wrap up with you, I actually want you to talk about a list of IRI tips that you have for the Jamaican community.
Thank you so much. So the Northeast Think Tank, along with several of our partners, have developed a list of IRI tips. And the reason why we call them IRIs, we wanted certainly our community, Khalib, to connect with them, right? To know that this is from us. It's from us, by us, for us then, right? Our Jamaican people. And just saying that we know we have heard the be wise, the sanitize, that's our campaign, the washing of our hands and standing far away. But one of the things that is very prevalent in our community, and several individuals have raised this. So Lester Hines, I'm a journalist. He always said, Karen, you have to keep saying it. Claudette Powell, our health sector coordinator, said, Karen, keep stressing that we are a community. We like to get together. We like to have our parties. We like to socialize. And we're really encouraging people. Look at the IRI tips. The IRI tips are on my Facebook page. And Khalib, you have I see you did show a copy, and certainly if you could post it on yours. But just follow it, just for the little bit of time, because now they're saying they don't even want any socializing. I'm sure the doctor will talk about this with groups of 10. But we're just saying, we know that we're a culture that is a warm culture. We're communion. We like to hug up one another, and we're happy to see each other and eat and come over, especially on the weekend, and talk. But we're saying, let's just be irie, let's pull together, and let's just make sure that we are giving each other that social distance, staying home when and where possible, not doing any unnecessary travel to help prevent the spread of this infection.
Okay. Thank you so very much for all of that very, very valuable information. I apologize for the technical issues that we've been having, and I'm sure our viewers were getting all of the great information. Let me see if there are any actual questions here. Amoy Bogle says, great job. I know they didn't think about how this would have worked out with the college and university students. She's hoping that everything is working out. And of course, we have our viewers just saying hi from wherever they are around the country. Thanks to you all. And thank you to DrKarren Dunkley our Northeast Diaspora representative for the Jamaican community. Dr. Dunkley, hopefully we can have you on for some updates in future.
Thank you so much, Khalib, and thanks to what you do. And it's one love. It's all of us together in this, and we're pulling together. Thank you so much, and I'll
Yeah,
continue
man.
watching. Okay.
Bless up. All right. Thank
Bless
you.
up. Bye bye.
Okay. All right. So, there are so many myths. I see some people asking if they can drink a certain thing or spray themselves with a certain thing in order to, cure themselves or prevent themselves getting the coronavirus. So, I don't know how many of you have been seeing this what do you call it, a Ray and Nephew white rum bottle being passed around with the spray nozzle on it, and is that really a way that we can cure ourselves from the coronavirus? Dr. Holder, I'm going to ask you to actually hold your phone horizontally and not vertically. There you go. All right, and I'm going to bring Dr. Holder on screen now because she is going to talk to us about the myths surrounding corona. And Dr. Holder, I'm about to bring you on right now. I'm going to ask you to tip your camera down a little bit. I'm seeing a bright light behind you. All right, there you go. All right, much better. I'm going to bring you on screen now. So all of our friends at Jamaicans.com are able to see you. And I do want to point out to our viewers, Dr. Holder is actually in self-quarantine. You see that she has a mask on. She was actually at an event recently and not necessarily was exposed to the coronavirus, but someone at that event was actually diagnosed with corona. So she was asked to self quarantine by her school. Did I get that right?
Yes, definitely you did. Can you hear me?
Doc- yeah, I can hear you. Did I get that right, Dr. Holder?
Yes. I was at a conference March 2nd through 4th, and the person was also there at the same time. I didn't have any direct contact, but since we're not really clear with the symptomatic carriers, then we felt it was probably safest to stay home and complete my time here until
Right,
we get some testing and see. I'm asymptomatic, but there's also always asymptomatic carriers.
right. What has that, before we get into the myths that we want to try and dispel, what has that been like? Are you more nervous than normal? Do you feel like you're in a high risk group?
Well,
What have you felt like?
luckily I don't have any chronic diseases and I never smoked. I don't have any, not on any medication. So my risk group should be okay. However, you just never know. And so I'm already 14 days from exposure. So that does give me some relief. But it is a little bit stressful because you just never know. So whenever you feel a little ache or a little cough or a little something, you're going to think, oh, could that be the start?
Right,
It's always stressful. And also, not just for me, but if I were an asymptomatic carrier, did I expose anybody else? That's
right,
always the difficult part.
right. Yeah. All right. You're brave, and thank you very much for at least sharing that. I see that you're. Is there a reason you're wearing a mask in the house?
No, I had it on. I I was looking around for it and I didn't realize I still had it on because I went out to get my test today, the coronavirus,
Okay.
and I still had it on.
Oh,
So
so they are available now in Florida.
um, it is based on the risk, and since I'm a healthcare provider, even though I'm asymptomatic, I'm a healthcare provider, and to be able to go back out and work,
Hmm.
it would be good to have a negative test. And it is available at a drive-through. It's available through the Quest system, so it's three
Hmm.
different days you'll wait for your report.
Okay.
But it's available through Quest and
Okay.
Lab, but it's not readily available. And you do have to have more than just a little runny nose and you want the test.
Right. Okay.
I'm a known,
Understood.
I was exposed to somebody known to have COVID-19, and I'm a healthcare provider, and just to decrease my exposure to others.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for sharing those details, but we're going to jump right into it because, excuse me, I don't know if you can see the image on the right of your screen right now, but here is an image that I received from somebody through WhatsApp or something like that, right? So they have these things passing around this Jerry and nephew bottle of overproof white rum, and they're calling it coronavirus spray. Spray in your throat 3 times a day, and it's gonna cure everything, right? Which we know is foolishness. So, some of the myths that we've been hearing about, and let's start off with myth number one for me, that this is a Chinese virus. So I have an issue with anything that is going to promote bigotry. And what has happened now is that because the virus came from China, now all Chinese people are being persecuted and people don't want to eat Chinese food as though it came from Wuhan or, you know, this
Yeah.
thing of it being a Chinese virus. Is there any legitimacy to that?
No, we don't name viruses based on their wherever they started first. I mean, that's as crazy as saying that diabetes is American. It's it's an infection that comes from viruses. And there are more viruses in this entire world than there are people and bacteria and everything combined. They're everywhere. So the one that started the COVID-19 is very much the it's in the bats, and bats harbor a lot of coronaviruses. And this one probably mutated and entered into one of the things that the bats bite called a pangolin. That's basically what they're feeling. And then by handling the meat or eating the meat, not really sure how it enters into the human population. But this happens to viruses everywhere. And because of the temperature conditions in areas that are cold and dry, like what happens in China, and the proximity that people have to to the vector, and the vectors are things that harbor the disease and can transmit. So your proximity to the vector in a cold, dry climate like China. So viruses that tend to cause these infections like flu tend to start in those areas and come over. But we don't label it Chinese virus, it's just an infection. And that's the way it's, and it's wrong to think that, that Chinese people are terrible by eating whatever they eat. Because I tell folks in our country, we eat beef, and the cow is sacred in India. So are we being evil? And when you look at the damage that beef eating
Right.
does to the climate, which is worse. So it's best not to label foods based on an ethnic group or a culture. It's really wrong.
Right. The next thing that we will hear is that black people can't get it, and then the argument behind that is that black people are cleaner than other people or what have you. Is there any truth to this one?
No, no truth. Our skin, the amount of melanin we produce doesn't change. Genetically, we're 99.99, whatever. We're the same. Now, the conditions we live in may vary. And where Africa, which is more hot and humid, it will be a little bit harder to transmit that infection. So you may not see it just running, in the community as easily. But if you get close enough to somebody who has it, you'll get it. So that's why we see it in Singapore, we see it in hot climates, we see it in black countries. We see it in Jamaica now. If you get close enough to somebody with it, you'll get it. Our genetics are different, so we're all prone to getting it.
I see a question here from a David I. Muir. Can I rub myself with vitamin C as protection?
No, the way this virus works, you got to get it into your nasal passage, your eyes, and then it gets into the cell, and then it gets into the lung cells. So it has to live in the anywhere along the upper respiratory tract, the nose, the mucosa, into the lungs, and that's where the virus lives. And there are lots of mechanisms that they're finding that may be why it gets into the cell. And it gets a little complicated, but because of the way the virus hooks into the cells that it infects, you you can't protect it by putting it on your skin. That's why we tell you don't touch your nose, don't touch your eyes, don't get it in your mouth, don't get it in your membranes that can pass it on. So, no vitamin C protection on the skin because it doesn't go through the skin. And
Gotcha.
that's why spraying with the alcohol in the mouth doesn't do it because it's not going to last there all the time. It's just not going to disinfect that way. The key is not to get it in because it's microscopic. We're not seeing it on our hands. So you're putting it in and it gets into the cell pretty easily. So
Right. So
these
my bottle of
topical,
white rum over here is not going to help us at all.
no, the key is to kill the virus so it doesn't get in you. What soap and water does. That's what the alcohol.
Right.
Now the overproof rum is over 60% alcohol. And so it's a great disinfectant because for it to kill the virus, you need over 60% alcohol solution or a bleach solution. So the rum
Gotcha.
is clean your surfaces, clean your phone, clean what you need to clean, but definitely not to drink.
Okay. Here's one that I found interesting. So I was always taught to cough into my hand and then go and wash your hands or whatever. We're now being told to cough into our elbows. And I didn't think that was a big difference, but then I saw that Ben Carson was being berated for coughing into his hand because he then touched the podium and did all
Right.
of these kind of things. So is there a huge difference? Is there a need that elbow thing makes a huge difference?
If you just definitely it does. It's not ideal, but it's better. The what happens the it's about the projectile when you cough and sneeze can go up to 10, 9, can go very far. That's why we say at least 6 feet because it can go from 6 to 10 feet if you cough and sneeze hard enough. So what coughing in your hands does or in your elbow blocks that 10 feet projection. But by leaving the particles and the droplets on your hand, you
Uh-oh. I am so sorry. I lost Dr. Holder. I don't think I was hearing her anymore. And she may have fallen off the broadcast. But some of the other things that she was giving us some great information. If you're just joining us, my name is Khalib Thompson, and I'm the host of this program, Island Origins Live. I'm going to ask you to hit like and hit share. We've got some great information that we've been getting. We started off the show with how our international students have been faring up there in the Northeast. Many of them have been stranded kind of because of this, the quarantine and the lockdown of the schools. They were told to go home and they can't go home. So what do they do in the interim? We had DrKarren Dunkley on talking to us about how they're sorting all of that kind of stuff out. Dr. Cheryl Holder was on with us just now, but we just lost her. And we actually have, oh, here she is. She just came back onto the call, so I'm going to bring her back into the stream. Dr. Holder, welcome back. Sorry, we just got, your internet may have dropped just now. So we have you back on. Thank you so much. So you were talking to us about the sneezes being airborne up to 6 feet. So you do want to cough into your
right.
hands, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we say don't cough into your hand. Now, if you have a
Okay.
tissue or something in your hand that you can block it and capture so the droplets don't go onto your fingers, then
Right.
that's okay. But
Yes.
if you have none of that, into your elbow is best. So that's
Gotcha.
why I tell folks because most people are now coughing on the and it can stay on your clothes, not as long, but it
Mm.
can objects. I say probably do namaste or do the foot hello. This way, this way you just avoid it. If you have symptoms at all, you should um, put on a mask and go out and try not to touch or and maintain your distance.
Gotcha.
Because your coughing and sneezing is just a regular cold. It doesn't have to be coronavirus, but you should protect other people from that.
Right. Here's one. Can I get it from touching a package, number one? And then how helpful are things like face masks and gloves overall? And then a question I have personally, people will say, oh, I went through the airport the other day and this woman wanted to touch my hair and I told her, don't touch my hair. She says, but I'm wearing gloves, but she's already touched people's shoes and touched all kinds of other things. So are the latex gloves particularly helpful? What's the benefit of the face masks, the transfer?
The face masks are good for folks who have a cough and symptoms so they don't spread it. And that's our real goal with the face mask. And if you're also a healthcare provider and you know the person has, then you use the proper protection. But just in general, the face mask is only helpful to stop you from touching your nose and touching your mouth and touching your eyes. So that's the only thing it's good for if you're not symptomatic. But that does leave you with a false sense of security. So we say, why waste a face mask? There's going to be a shortage. So don't use it if you're asymptomatic, and use proper precautions. There are folks who say they put special scented lotion on their hands, so when it comes to their face, they can smell it to remind themselves not to touch their face and touch their nose and touch their bodies. Uh, the length of time that the virus stays alive, the data goes from 2 hours to days, several days. So we recommend cleaning everything. If you're bringing products in, just wash your hands frequently. It's hard to say. It doesn't live long in the sun. It doesn't do as well in the sun. So if things stay out in the sun and you're outside, it's less likely you're going to infect your hand, take your hands and put it in your nose and put it in your eyes.
Gotcha.
But it can live on inanimate objects, much longer and hard surfaces. So that's why we say, please wipe up, clean up after yourself. I'd even say leave your shoes at the door and have indoor shoes. I think we have to become more Japanese, where a lot of the shoes stay out and you come inside and you switch and you clean up the floors and you
Right.
clean after yourself and you do as less touching, especially during this next month until we have a better idea of how many people are infected and where the big spots are. Right
Right.
now, I tell everyone, assume everyone's positive, because in the long run, this way you're going to take precautions, because we really don't know who's positive, who's not positive. And Idris Alba was an asymptomatic carrier. So you really best to not sneeze in your hands, sneeze in your elbow if you don't have, and also then not touch folks.
Right.
And try and wash your hands frequently as possible. If you can't wash with soap and water, use hand sanitizers. Just keep it constantly, because you are always prone to touch your eyes and touch your nose. They say at least 50 to 100 times a day you'll touch something on your face.
Right. All right. CG is
But don't
standing
waste the
by, so I'm just going
mask
to ask
unless
you
you have
two more
symptoms.
questions. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to ask you two more questions. If you Sorry.
Another
So
question?
young
Did I
people
lose you
are
again?
apparently not taking it very seriously because
Yeah.
they feel like they're, not as at risk to have the severe symptoms. Remember, we can still see you, so I'm going to ask you to just tilt the camera down a little bit. Yeah. Um, Oh dear. Okay. Right. So young people are kind of going out still and interacting and still at bars and hangout spots and not realizing, or I believe, even if you are, as you said, asymptomatic, you can be a carrier of this. They can take it home and expose themselves to their grandparents or what have you. So to parents of people, I'm not sure how many young people we have watching this right now, but if
Okay.
you are a parent of a young person who is not taking it seriously because they can't, or they feel like they can't get sick, looks like we just lost Dr. Holder. Maybe that's why we were getting so much feedback and static. All right, so let's keep it moving. I did want to ask about the flattening of the curve. I don't know if many of you have been hearing about this. But I am going to show you this last thing that I think is very important for everyone to understand, this business of flattening the curve. So if you've seen this graph, Dr. Holder, I know you're coming, trying to get back on the call, but we're going to jump on with the Consul General in a moment. I'm just showing everyone this graph, which is what they refer to as flattening the curve. When the healthcare systems are overwhelmed with people who are all getting the virus at the same time, what happens is you start to see this large orange curve that you're seeing here, right? And the healthcare systems are overwhelmed by the volume of people getting the disease. So this is how you end up with I don't even know which side of the, okay, here we go. This side of the screen where you have this large orange hump. The healthcare system is so overwhelmed that where that line is that goes across, that is where what they can normally manage. When you have 50, 100,000 more people than hospitals can manage, it's overwhelming the system, and a whole lot of people are not going to get treatment. If you stretch out the course of the disease so that people are getting sick over time instead of overwhelming the whole system at the same time, it allows for the healthcare systems to manage the whole system, the whole situation a lot better. So that was the last thing that I wanted to kind of touch on with Dr. Holder. Now, I am going to invite on our Consul General, Mr. Oliver Mair, very outspoken. Dr. Holder will give you a call back to just finalize at another time. But CG, I see you standing by here. And let me just introduce before CG comes on, right? This is Oliver Mair, is very outspoken, our Consul General here in the Southeast USA. I'm not sure how big your district is, CG. But, you know, a lot of us don't have maybe close relationships with family and friends in Jamaica, right? I have a WhatsApp group with my sisters where we send messages around, and they will send me, I'll share with you some of the messages that I've been getting from them. But I get updates daily at this point. I heard when the first coronavirus case was declared, and as they've been increasing, and how they've been shutting things down just to try and keep things safe for our families there. So, Mr. Mair, I'm going to invite you on right now. You're looking nice by the pool there, man. You're looking very relaxed and stuff.
Thank you.
Looking,
Khalib, good to
you're
be in the
looking chill.
program. And good evening to the listeners. And, you know, I want to say that technology has given us such a big advantage because,
Yes.
I mean, right from where we are, you know, whether you're in Florida, whether you're in New York, whether you're in London, um, you know, Prime Minister's Facebook page, Minister Tufton's Facebook page have just been a source of a wealth of information. Every time they go live, you know, you can always, you know, like the page. And so you get the immediate update when they have a briefing to the public. And when you look at the persons that are logging on, it's persons from all over the world. And they have been keeping us informed step by step. You know, I want to congratulate the leadership. Many times we don't spend enough time congratulating our leaders, but I want to congratulate them for keeping us informed. And I want to encourage the members of the diaspora as well to log into both pages because the frequent updates and everything that's taking place, literally, every time a new case is found, there is an update. And so, for example, currently we have 12 confirmed cases in Jamaica. There was an earlier announcement that there were 15, but three of the persons actually came back, they tested negative. So it's actually back down to 12. So we get regular updates. Khalib, can you hear me?
Right. Okay. So you're saying that the last, you cut out a while ago from me. I know the audience is hearing you, but you said the last count you saw 12?
Hello?
Oh dear. I'm hoping we're not losing you. You said that last count you saw 12?
All right. I'm not sure if you're hearing me.
Oh Lord, we're having some
Even with the
technical
greatest of technology, sometimes there are
we're having some
glitches.
technical difficulties here. All right. So are you hearing me now, CG? Are you hearing me now, CG? Okay, we might be losing. CG, are you hearing me now? All right, while we're waiting to see if we can get CG back online, I just want to make sure that I'm acknowledging, yes, he did just get cut off. So I want to just make sure that we're acknowledging all of the people who have been joining us on the live. I see Conrad, Shanette, Norma. It's a respiratory infection building up in one's immune system. Yes, I see a whole bunch of comments here. But if you have questions for CG, I'm bringing him back in the stream right now. If you have questions for CG, please go ahead and put them in the comments. We are able to drop them on screen and make sure that CG is able to answer. And I realize that you guys are hearing both of us, but we're not necessarily hearing each other. So we're having some technical difficulties on the production side. Apologies for that, but CG, you're back with us now, yes?
Great to be back. Um,
Okay, yes.
so not sure what you heard, but basically I want to reiterate that you can always log into Prime Minister's Facebook page as well as Minister of Health and Wellness Christopher Tufton's page. Every time they go live, Khalib, we get the
Yes.
information on spot. And
Yes.
I found that whenever there is a new confirmed case, within minutes of it being announced, I'm aware. So I,
Yes.
I, I want to encourage persons. But of course, we will continue to have this type of dialogue in whether on the radio, online, and just to ensure that people are aware and they have their questions answered as best as possible.
Right. And I'm actually showing one of these press releases, one of the things that we have heard from or seen coming out of Jamaica, one of these updates or notifications that we've been hearing from Jamaica
I
that
think I
I've
may
been
have lost you
getting.
again, Khalib.
Uh-oh. That I have been getting from my sisters. I just had it up
All right,
on the screen.
I'm seeing you
You hearing me
again now.
again?
Yes, I can hear you again. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I just had up on the screen one of the updates that I've been getting from my sisters where they were talking about how many people have contracted the disease at this point. Can you talk to us about what the cautionary measures are that the government is taking to make sure that now that there are several cases on the island, it's not spreading further or faster?
Right. Okay. Um, we have a couple measures here. All non-essential work to be done from home for both public and private sector. I know there's been a lot of conversation around what constitutes non-essential, um, and it's being left to companies to decide that on their own to determine what is essential and what is non-essential, and um, have persons work from home to a large extent because, of course, social distancing is the aim we're trying to achieve here. So even for example at the consulate, we are going to be closing to the public on Friday, and some of our team members will be working from home, a few of them. But in Jamaica, they're encouraging persons who can work from home, non-essential, to work from home. Um, no gathering in public spaces over 20 persons. Again, trying to ensure there are less persons in a room together. So the decree, the advisory here is no gathering in public spaces over 20 persons. Funerals and weddings should be limited to close family members. Again, no gathering over 20 persons. Bars and areas of entertainment are now closed. Markets, pharmacies, and supermarkets will remain open. However, the markets will be open from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., like Coronation Market. Public transportation, JUTC, will carry only passengers seated. Taxi operators will carry one less passenger than they are licensed to. So, for example, if you are licensed to carry five passengers, you must now carry four. And there'll be 2.2 million US dollars will be spent now for the procurement of protective gears. This includes 400,000 masks, which the government hopes to get next week. So these are just some of the measures. You would have noted that the first case actually came out of the United Kingdom,
Right.
and the individual, she was going to a funeral, and she spent quite a bit of time in St. Thomas in Bull Bay, and so now that area has been quarantined. And over the
Oh.
last couple of days, I mean, there have been 649 people that have actually been interviewed, which after visiting 250 thereabout households. And so persons within the area have to stay within the area. So what the government is trying to do is to maintain the spread, because as you know, the virus doesn't have legs of its own. So if we're not moving, the virus is not moving.
Right. Let me ask you this, because, you know, I'm going to say America was caught with its pants down a little bit, and I'm being facetious, but you know, we hear that solutions were offered, testing kits were offered, and they were kind of passed off. How prepared was Jamaica for this? When this first test came up and presented itself, was Jamaica already, did we already have a plan in place to deal with everything that's happening?
Um, I believe that Minister Tufton would be best able to respond to that, in my opinion, based off of how they have responded. I would have to give solid marks to the ministry. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but the feedback on the ground I'm hearing, Khalib, even from people who normally quarrel about everything, they have been giving top marks to the government for how quickly they have responded and the serious actions they have taken. I know there have been some testing kits on the ground, but I know more are being procured. So that is an area that, of course, you can never have enough. And I know initially at the start, I believe that the first there was a first scare. In fact, there was word got out that there was the first case had arrived in Jamaica, and it was actually a scare, and they had to do some steps to see if it fitted the case study of somebody with corona, and the first test was sent off. But now they have the capacity to test in Jamaica, and I think that happened quite briskly. And there was full communication. More importantly, there was full communication at each step of the way. There was a live broadcast with the minister, the chief medical officer, the prime minister, and they fielded questions just to ward off all the rumors that were spreading with the first case. And when the first case actually happened, it was immediately announced to the public and all the various steps that would be taken. So, why I'm saying this is I want to encourage persons as well in the diaspora to realize that information is available. We're in
Yes.
the age of social media. I mean, you can get the information at the same time that your consul
Right.
general gets it,
I'm
Khalid gets
actually
it.
I'm actually going to read a comment from Norma Allen here. She says they actually just finished a live update with Mr. PM and Mr. Tufton.
See
I'm
there.
so proud of how we Liquor Jamaica, or how
That's right.
Milica Jamaica, sorry, is handling this crisis. The whole team, I think, is doing a great job, including the medical staff who are on the front line. Their task is great. Thank you so much, Norma Allen, for that feedback.
And there was commendation that I saw today on Twitter from the ambassador of the United States to Jamaica. He
Yes.
congratulated the government, and from the WHO to Minister Tufton. So I saw both today. So
Yes.
congrats to them.
Yes, yes, yes. Good evening, everyone. Yes, Jamaica is doing a great job. Thank you for the comment, Kathleen Dean. All right. So here's a question that might be a little sticky for you to answer, but we want to ask it because so many of us have relatives who may be living in very, very close quarters. We know there are communities where it's just maybe a piece of zinc that separates one person from another. how are we dealing with encouraging those people to protect themselves other than the social distancing, which we know nobody's going to pay attention to a certain extent, but what are we doing there?
Yeah. For example, all right. Let me say first that schools, the schools are out now, so the children are at home from schools, universities. So what is happening is that again limiting the social distancing. Um, in communities, I would say that maybe maybe there's a plan there. I know been a lot of outreach in terms of education, both in terms of on television as well as in the community via town criers, via flyers, just going and explaining to people on a one-to-one basis. Many of the workers that were deployed for vector control are now in this COVID-19 education campaign, and just ensuring that persons are aware of having that social distancing taking place. The question you ask is a challenging one. I don't think that's going to be solved right away, but education is a key part of it. Ensuring that you're not too close to persons. You're constantly washing your hands. You're not wiping your face on a regular basis. But again, what has been done with schools, universities, and with private sector and public sector, persons are being now mandated to work from home, and non-essential persons to work from home. These are solid steps that are being taken. I don't think we're going to get the whole community now to, if 10 people are in a room,
Right.
education is the first step. But certainly more work has to be done with that. We had the NHF actually in the community today in St. Thomas with their mobile pharmacy, and they have been persons who have, see, I wipe my face, I'm sorry, persons
How dare
persons,
you?
you know I'm so guilty of
If
that,
you wash your hands, you're good.
yes, I've been washing my hands.
Good,
But
good.
persons with prescriptions, they have been filling prescriptions on the spot for persons and educating them. And the community has been so receptive. They have been coming up with creative jingles, songs. There's a nice jingle now to jingle bells, um, reminding persons of all the different steps that we need to take. So our grassroots communities, they know what needs to be done, and they are sharing the message, and they are taking the steps. I think there was a recent footage in Coronation Market, and you saw persons taking all the steps that they need to ensure that their personal safety was adhered to. And I think that's a very important step just in terms of education.
Right. Awesome. Now, I know there are some things that people are not happy about. For example, I wonder if you can see this here. Your friend Brianna. Do you
Yes,
see this? This
I've
was for,
seen.
you see this? You see this? This was for you right here, to Oliver.
Whoa, whoa.
So I have this to bring. I have this to bring for you. She signed it for you the other day.
Thank you, thank you.
Are you blushing?
All right. Listen,
You
we're
fell off
so
camera a while ago.
we.
But
Can I confess? I'm going to confess to your
yeah.
listeners. I confess. I have washed my hands, but sometimes my nose, itches me. I did scratch my nose a while ago. Let's say, but I want to
TMI,
encourage
TMI.
everybody. But anyway, Brianna,
All right, but
we're so
no,
proud of Brianna. I mean, she lives here in South Florida with us. She's a Jamaican, and we're excited about what she's doing.
right.
And with us, it's unfortunate. Of course, Olympics will not take place. The major activities are being postponed or canceled
Oh,
this year.
I didn't even know that yet. Okay,
Well,
they've already made that determination for
listen,
Olympics.
listen. Isn't Olympics is this year? Isn't Olympics?
It's this year, but they said that they haven't made a determination yet.
All right.
So
No, maybe I was speaking out of
pen
turn.
relays.
Let me
Okay,
let me pull that back. Pen relays have been canceled.
okay,
Or champs is
or
canceled.
postponed, right?
Champs is canceled. Let me stick with that. Champs is canceled.
Well,
But
well,
pen
yes, and
relays,
I actually have the graphic up on screen because Brianna was quite, it's not the boys and girls champ she was complaining about. She was very upset about something because these elite athletes, they have been training for
Yeah,
years and years, and here comes this corona
that's
and
right.
mash up
It's tough.
what some will be their last chance of she's at the beginning of her career. I don't even think she's 18 years old yet. Congratulations to her. But what all you sports fans, because I know you are a sports fan, how is this personally affecting you as a sports fan, sir?
Well, we have we have our Saturday group, right? And in the community, we have about 35 to 40 of us who meet every week to work out. So we have had to postpone that and do our individual exercise at home. And those of us who like to watch um, current sports, we have to now look back. Like for me, I love boxing and tennis and table tennis. So I look back at past matches and enjoy myself. But family
Right.
time is very important now. I've been spending a lot of time with family, and we're doing some board games. We're
Yeah.
watching some old movies together. We're bonding, and that's so important. Family life is so important, and we realize that we don't always have to have the hustle and bustle. Reducing stress is important, and I think that's critical in this time as we fight against this coronavirus.
Right. I'm gonna look at some of these comments here. Conrad McKay is saying Jamaica is doing a great job. The UK is not doing the best in his opinion. I think he is actually checking in with us, watching from the UK. I see someone saying, please ask every CG Allison Wilson. Oh, is this another CG? CG Alcyon Wilson is saying, please ask everyone to be mindful of the information that they're sharing. Do you want to touch on that? Thank you, CG Wilson, for checking in with us.
Yeah, and I just want to commend CG New York for the great job that she's doing. And we have to ensure, thank you for that, CG. We have to ensure that the information that we're getting is credible information. And we have to rely on the credible sources before we share it. We don't want to create hysteria in the market. We don't want to lead people astray. So it's important that we listen carefully to credible information. WHO, the World Health Organization, the PAHO, of course, our minister and our authorities here in the United States. Stay tuned and listen carefully. Many times we have places that are locked off, are close to the public, and we need to be aware. So we share credible information at all times.
So we don't want to share this bottle of Ray and Nephew with the spray head that that has been passing around. All right, so we're going to take that
Yeah.
off of the screen and not share that anymore. All right, I see a message here from our Prime Minister of Jamaicans.com, Xavier Murphy. He is saying, CG, I know we're in the situation now, but at some point it will die down. There will be an economic fallout worldwide. What can the diaspora do at this point, as they will also be dealing with the challenges?
I love that question. I love
Thank you,
that
Xavier, for
question.
that question.
And I love people. I love the diaspora to realize that at all times we're a part of the solution. We can make a difference. And even today I was buy food for the poor. We had a first shipment of supplies going off to Jamaica, and members from the community have been asking, what can we do to help Jamaica at this time? We're going to be sending out a list of items that Jamaica will need, and work coordinate that with food for the poor. Um, but outside of that, Xavier, just having the mindset to say that each one of us can make a difference. I got a call today from a lawyer in the community. He's never met me, but he said, "Listen, I love what Jamaica is doing. Here's a suggestion I would like to make." And he passed it on. He's coming a part of the solution. We have companies in Jamaica that have donated now up to 150 million, and we have companies like Sagicor, like JPS, like Rubis, like Jerry and Neville. I'm going to get in trouble. I didn't mention everybody, but Grace Kennedy, that they're pumping in resources. They're saying, look, we want to be a part of the solution. Um, Jamaica is going to be open for business. Thank God, all our economic variables we're looking very good. Our Minister of Tourism has said that up to this point, even with the initial fallout, Khalib, we are still 3% ahead of last year. Last year, we welcomed 4.5 million visitors to Jamaica. All right? So our tourist arrivals were very strong. Clearly, there's going to be a major dip in that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
first things first, let's get the situation, health. Our health is important. Health is wealth. Let's get the situation under control. And then we can look to get back out the word to that our product. Although it's not closed, but we're not encouraging people right now to come to Jamaica. We're
Right.
not encouraging.
Right.
Members in the diaspora, we're telling, sit tight for a little. Let's get this under control. If you don't have to travel, don't travel. Stay at home. Only emergency situations should lead you. I've had several people call me for the week asking, they have a funeral to come to Jamaica. What should they do? And I'm saying, listen, stay home. And they've taken the advice. They've postponed the funeral. I mean, it was their choice, but I encourage them. Listen, let's ensure that. And this is before the advisory came about 20 persons. Let's put our health and safety first. So Xavier, I kind of went about it in a roundabout way, but I think the positive mindset is important. Jamaica has been doing extremely well. And once we get over the situation, which we will, let's all jump back in. There'll be great opportunities for persons to continue to invest. I mean, yes, the stock market has gone down everywhere, but you can look at that as a bad situation, or you can look at it as a buying opportunity, which I'm doing personally. I can't give investment advice, but that's one clear opportunity. And they'll in Jamaica will continue to be open for investment, and the same programs that were there. Our debt to GDP was at 147% in 2012. And as we speak, our debt to GDP is at 92%. And that has given us some leeway to respond to some of these situations with more flexibility and to have more resources available for social intervention and to deal with some of these crises that come up.
All right. So that kind of gave us some perspective on how the diaspora can maybe interact with home a little bit more safely and what have you. What message do you have for us here in the diaspora in terms of protecting ourselves or taking care of ourselves and our own families here?
Okay. I'm saying, let's be alert, but not anxious. Let's prepare, but not panic. Let's be calm, but not cavalier. Let's take all the precautions. The government of Jamaica has led the way in terms of really taking the solid actions, but each of us have to take it individually at home. We have to ensure, for example, that our immune system, as best as possible, we eat well, we drink a lot of liquid, we gargle our throat, drink something every 15 minutes, have fruits and vegetables, the garlic,
As much as you can without going outside too much, huh?
exactly, and
Yeah.
stay inside. Tanner the yard is the prescription that's going around now. Tanner yard is the solution, right?
I saw that bottle. I didn't download it, but yes, I see.
Yeah, Tanner yard. So yeah, and we will overcome this. We have to work together. We have to encourage each other. Pick up the phone and call your parents, even though you may not be able to visit them, but encourage them because we have to manage our stress levels as well. We can't sit down and worry about this.
Right.
We have to relax, but we have to take the actions. Faith without works is dead, the good book says. So we
Right.
must believe that we will overcome. We will overcome, but we must take the actions. We can't just dream it into reality. We have to take the individual actions on a personal level and do what we can. Each one of us, there's something that each one of us can do, right? I see CG saying lots of lime juice. Every day in the morning, I have my lime juice. Every morning, I have my lime juice. First thing in the morning, my vitamin C, right? I've loaded up at least 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day. You know, my Guinea and weed. These are some of the things on a personal level. My turmeric. Today, I had food for the poor. I might get myself in trouble now with it. But they gave me some OTT apple. I got a bag of OTT apples I took home, and somebody asked me to carry some OTT leaf. I'm not prescribing the OTT leaf to boil it, right? I've never
Never heard
tried
of
it
that one.
before.
Never
But
heard of that one.
our ancestors had a lot of herbal. We can utilize it because our best line of defense is our immune system, and we have to protect it at all times. And the only person that can do that is us individually.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, thank you for all of that information. Before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you a non-corona related question. I got this in the mail the other day and I've blacked out the sensitive information. I don't know if you can see it. This is my request to fill out the census.
Oh
And
yes.
there is a lovely new provision now where we are allowed to categorize ourselves as Caribbean on the census. How is that actually going? And just for clarity to all of the viewers, you can still say that you're a U.S. citizen, but you can say you're born in Jamaica or of Caribbean heritage or of Jamaican, whatever that situation is. How is that actually beneficial to us, and why is it important we do it?
Excellent, Khalib. And the deadline is in April, and it's so important for the resources that will be allocated for communities that they see the numbers. And we have so many Jamaicans, so many persons of Caribbean descent here in the United States that feel afraid of identifying themselves on a census. It's important that we do that because we always have to have a seat at the table, and the more of us complete the census, they will realize how many of us Jamaicans are here. I mean, right here in South Florida, we have 16 Jamaicans who are elected officials who have done so well. They have been elected by their communities in leadership positions. They have done well, but a lot of the persons, they are out there screaming at the top of their voice, listen, we need to come forward, fill out the census. There's no harm. They can't use the information. This information is confidential. Okay, so everybody can feel confident about completing the census, and the bottom line is it's going to be more resources allocated in communities where our Jamaican nationals reside, our Caribbean nationals reside. It's extremely important. It happens every 10 years. So I'm saying
So it's going to be a long time before we have the chance
a
again.
long time, and we only have what, 2 weeks? How much time left? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I didn't even look at the deadline and I haven't done it yet. By April 1st.
By April 1st. So, guys, we have to take this thing very seriously. I mean, we're focusing on Corona, but listen, we can multitask. We must,
Right.
whether we get it in the mail, whether we do it online, and we have been using different opportunities to spread the word at the consulate. We have been encouraging our leaders, our Jamaican nationals, to do that. But I'm making a plea to everybody listening here who reside in the United States. Please, 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 please fill out the census yourself, and ensure that everybody does the same. It's important for everybody. It will help us as a country. I'm yet to find one Jamaican who is not proud to be Jamaican, and this will help us as Jamaica and as Jamaicans, even here in the United States, Jamaican nationals living here in the United States. So it's important for the census that we complete it.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much, my brother.
Yeah.
I'm going to, your CG, you CGs, I don't know what's going on with you. Here, CG was
Whoa.
saying, send me some of the apples, please.
No problem, no problem. I have a couple
Yes, and
people.
she makes a point.
I have a couple people I've booked up for some already, but don't worry, CJ, I'm going to send you your apple. And I'm not talking about the computer. Your OTET apple. Yeah.
She makes a point here as well, though. She says we leave over $10 billion on the table by not being counted.
Well said.
Marian, yes. Marian Raymond is saying, getting emails to expect the census, but have not received the form in the mail yet. What is the website for online completion? Have you already done yours, CG?
I'm going to be doing mine. I have the form here. I'm not going to tell you if it's not so. So I have the form here and I'm going to be completing it.
I'm in the same boat. I have the form and I was able to show it a while ago. I have not yet gone onto the website to do it. I know David did his, or a friend of mine, let me not call any names, did his this weekend.
Congratulations, Mr. Campion
But he's
and
very
David Muir.
yeah, man, he's very responsible like that.
Good.
But this area that I have kind of blacked out in the yellow is
Yeah.
a code. So they send you a unique code in the mail, which you
Yes.
can then use and go online to fill out all of the details. I guess so they're not wasting so much paper. If you want the paper ballot because you're perhaps not someone who, you're a grandparent or you're not tech savvy, you can actually call them and request that you get the paper one in the mail. But as CG is saying, it looks like a very quick turnaround. They need it done by April 1st. So please get cracking. Tell everybody that you know to get cracking on this. Let me see if there are any final questions before we sign off. We should have been done at 8:30, but of course CG just keeps the conversation rolling like that.
Well, you had two.
Let me
You had
see
two
now.
CGs on the show tonight.
Only two CGs. She's saying to send CG Wilson is saying to send Miss Raymond to her website. You can actually go to my2020census.gov. CG Wilson, if you want to put your website, okay, here we go. Okay, that's the website for the Consul General in the Northeast. If you would like to get information from there, but of course, if the general information for census is at my2020census.gov. Conrad McKay, I'm gonna put this on screen, CG, because this is for you. Sorry, wrong one. So listening, here we go. Conrad McKay, and this is our friend from London, says, listening to you makes me more proud to be a Jamaican.
Wow,
CG, I
wow.
think that was for you. Maybe it
Wow,
was for
wow.
me too.
Thank
I
you.
don't know. I'll
Thank
take
you,
it.
Leslie. Well, I'll take it too. Well, two of us take it. Two of us take it. But
Yeah,
thank
we'll,
you.
we'll share. We'll share.
Thank you very much,
Michelle
Conrad.
McLean, Marva Robinson, all of you who have joined us today from London, from South Florida, from the Northeast, wherever you are in the US. CG, I just want the both of us to say thanks and good night to everyone. You can go ahead and say
Yes,
your good night too. Yeah.
yes. I wanted to say thank you to everybody. Some of the names that you just called here are let me tell you, these are some diehard supporters of the diaspora.
Uh-oh, I'm not sure. Did I lose CG? All right. I'm not hearing CG. I don't know if you all are out there in the world. CG, okay, so I'm not sure if you all were hearing CG a while ago, but I was not hearing him anymore. So I have cut off his feed for the moment. Of course, we can have him on at some other time in the future. I'm so sorry that all the technical issues were not ironed out this evening, but hopefully you enjoyed the broadcast. Hopefully you learned a whole lot from our guests. Again, that was DrKarren Dunkley. She was our Northeast representative for the diaspora. Then we had on Dr. Cheryl Holder, who was sharing information with us about the myths surrounding COVID-19. And we ended off the evening with Mr. Oliver Mair, not doctor. We had two doctors and one CG, but we're getting very prestigious around here. So I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. I do hope to see you all next week. I'm seeing a lot of great jobs, good nights. Michelle McLean, Janice O'Shea, thanks CG for funding schools, libraries, roads, etc. Good night to Andrea McLeish. I'm just going to do all of my shout outs now. Cillin, I cannot pronounce your name. Williams, good night. Blessings from a proud Jamaican. Thank you for joining us. Millicent Elliott, thank you for joining us. Jason Singh, I'm praying for Jamaica. Big up to all Jamaicans. And I know that Jamaica will pull through this serious situation with coronavirus. It is crazy, and I hope that Andrew Holness will do everything to protect the government and the people of Jamaica. He's already well on that way. CG Wilson is actually sending a corrected website. So if you are listening from the Northeast and you did not get that website correct, it is ConGen, as in Consul or Consulate General Jamaica newyork.org. I'm not sure what it is for Jamaica down here in the South, our Consulate General here. But thank you all for coming on with us. Good evening to Clover, Marianne, Raymond, all of you who have joined us this evening on Island Origins Live. We will see you next week when I'm not quite sure what the topic is going to be yet. We could talk about voting, and I do want to give everyone an update. If you are in South Florida, there were terrible challenges today. Many of the polls didn't even open because, of course, our poll workers are older people. Many of them were not able to show up for the day because of corona and exposure. So there have been some issues. We should stand by and see if any changes will happen or any amendments to what happened today in voting. There were states where there were spikes in absentee ballot voting because people were afraid to go to the go to the ballot box. So much to catch us all up on, and we will do that next week when we see you on Island Origins Live. Again, my name is Khalib Thompson. I am the publisher of Island Origins magazine. I'm going to invite you to like our page at Island Origins for updates, and we will see you next week right here on Jamaicans.com. Have a good night, everybody.